9 things smart men should not do with women. Are you making these mistakes with women? Stay tuned to find out the 9 things smart men should never do, inspired by Stoicism. Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into how the principles of Stoicism can enhance your relationships with women. Let's get started. Even the smartest guys can make simple mistakes that undermine their relationships. Whether it's being too needy or overly critical, these actions can be counterproductive. Let's highlight some of these common misconceptions and why they don't work. Let's break down the 9 things smart men should never do with women. 1. Seek constant validation. Relying on a partner for self-worth can be as draining as trying to fill a leaky bucket with water. It's an exhausting endeavor that leaves you perpetually parched and perpetually discontent. Picture this: you're on a date, you spill spaghetti on your shirt, and suddenly, you're spiraling into a chasm of self-doubt because your partner didn't immediately reassure you that tomato sauce is the new black. That's no way to live. Instead, let's flip the script. Imagine cultivating inner confidence like tending to a lush, vibrant garden. It's all about nurturing your own self-esteem, watering it with positive affirmations, and basking in the sunshine of your achievements, big or small. When you rely on your partner for validation, you hand over the keys to your happiness, and honey, those keys belong in your pocket. Now, this doesn't mean you should never seek support from your partner. But instead of using them as your sole mirror for self-worth, let them be your cheerleader on the sidelines while you star in your own show. You're the hero of your story, the captain of your ship, the master of your destiny. Your partner's role? To wave those pom-poms and shout, "You've got this," as you navigate life's hurdles with grace and confidence. So, how do you cultivate this inner confidence, you ask? Start by celebrating your quirks. Maybe you snort when you laugh or have an uncanny ability to trip over thin air. Own it. These are the delightful idiosyncrasies that make you uniquely you. Next, set personal goals and relish in the satisfaction of smashing them, whether it's finally finishing that novel you've been working on or simply getting through the day without spilling spaghetti on yourself. In essence, building inner confidence is about recognizing that you are a whole, complete person without your partner's validation. It's about standing tall, even when life's inevitable spaghetti spills threaten to knock you down. So, cultivate the garden of self-esteem and let it flourish. Your partner will appreciate the radiant, self-assured you, and you'll revel in the unshakable foundation of your own worth. 2. Overanalyze emotions. Attempting to analyze every emotion can be like trying to untangle a mess of holiday lights, frustrating, time-consuming, and often counterproductive. Imagine you're at a dinner party, deep in conversation, but instead of engaging with your friends, you're stuck in your head, meticulously dissecting why you felt a twinge of envy when someone mentioned their new job. Meanwhile, the world continues around you, vibrant and unexamined. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is to stop playing emotional detective, put away your magnifying glass, and just be there, in the moment. Sure, understanding your feelings is important. But turning every interaction into a therapy session can create a chasm between you and others. Picture this: your friend is pouring their heart out about their recent breakup, and instead of offering a listening ear or a comforting hug, you're mentally drafting a thesis on the psychological intricacies of their sadness. Not exactly the kind of support they were hoping for. The truth is, emotions can be messy, unpredictable guests at the party of life. They don't always need to be scrutinized under a microscope. Sometimes, they just need to be acknowledged, like a quirky relative who shows up uninvited but still deserves a seat at the table. Being present, truly present, means embracing the chaos, the joy, the sorrow, and the mundane without needing to decode every signal. It means laughing at a joke without wondering if your amusement hides deeper existential angst, or crying at a movie without pondering what unresolved childhood trauma it might be triggering. So, the next time you find yourself knee-deep in emotional analysis, remember, you don't need to be the Sherlock Holmes of your feelings. Sometimes, it's perfectly okay to just be Dr. Watson, faithfully present, less burdened by the need to unravel every mystery, and more engaged with the simple act of living. After all, life is happening right now, not in the recesses of your overly analytical mind. So, join the party, dance a little, laugh a lot, and let the emotions flow without trying to capture and label each one. 3. Be overly critical. Constructive feedback is like a good cup of coffee. It energizes, sharpens the mind, and makes everything seem possible. Nitpicking, on the other hand, is more like finding a fly in that coffee, disheartening, unappetizing, and guaranteed to ruin your day. The difference between the two is crucial for maintaining trust and respect in any relationship, whether professional or personal. Imagine you're a chef who just whipped up a gourmet meal. Constructive feedback would be your diner saying, "This steak is fantastic. Maybe a touch more seasoning next time to really bring out the flavors." It's helpful, encouraging, and leaves you feeling like a culinary genius who's just a pinch of salt away from perfection. Now, let's picture the nitpicker. "This steak is 1.7 degrees over medium rare. The carrots are asymmetrical. And did you really think that parsley garnish was a good idea?" At this point, you're contemplating a career change, perhaps to professional rock collector, where the only feedback you get is from silent, stoic stones. When you provide constructive feedback, you're focusing on the bigger picture and offering suggestions that can genuinely help improve the overall outcome. It's like being a supportive coach, guiding someone to their personal best. Nitpicking, however, is the art of zeroing in on trivial, often irrelevant details, which only serves to demoralize and annoy. It's the difference between saying, "Your presentation was strong," but tightening up the conclusion would make it even more compelling, and you missed a comma on slide 27. The first approach fosters growth and mutual respect. The second just makes people want to staple things to your desk chair. Trust is built on respect and understanding, and constructive feedback is its cornerstone. It acknowledges effort, recognizes strengths, and provides actionable insights. Nitpicking, conversely, undermines trust because it feels more like a personal attack than a helpful critique. It's the equivalent of having someone point out a typo in your heartfelt love letter. Sure, the correction might be technically accurate, but the spirit of the message is lost. In essence, be the person who lifts others up with thoughtful, constructive feedback. Save the nitpicking for a hobby where it's appreciated, like stamp collecting or editing Wikipedia articles. Remember, the goal is to help each other grow, not to turn every interaction into a relentless game of gotcha. So next time you're tempted to point out that someone's tie is exactly 2 degrees off center, take a deep breath and ask yourself, am I being helpful, or am I just looking for the fly in the coffee? Avoid vulnerability. True connections are built on openness. Picture this, you and your friend are in a high-stakes game of emotional poker, but instead of playing your hand close to your chest, you lay your cards out on the table. Sure, it feels risky, a vulnerability always does. But hiding your feelings? That's like trying to play hide-and-seek in an empty room. No fun, and definitely no surprises. Hiding your feelings can prevent intimacy. Imagine building a wall so high and thick that even a medieval castle would be jealous. Sure, it might keep you safe from a dragon or two, or an awkward conversation, but it also keeps out the knights in shining armor, the friends who could help slay those dragons alongside you. Openness, on the other hand, is like giving someone a map to your heart, complete with all the scenic routes and occasional potholes. It's saying, here's where the road gets bumpy, but also, look at this incredible view. It's in those shared stories, the laughs, the tears, and even the embarrassing moments, that real intimacy is forged. So, drop the act and ditch the poker face. Life's too short for emotional solitaire. Embrace the messiness of human connection. Be open, be honest, and watch as your relationships transform from surface-level acquaintances to deep, meaningful bonds that withstand the test of time, and maybe even the occasional dragon. 5. Try to control everything. Releasing the iron grip of control is like finally handing the TV remote to someone else. You might discover a world of entertaining channels you never knew existed. By loosening your need to micromanage every detail, you pave the way for a dynamic dance of mutual respect and autonomy. Think of it as swapping out your old dictatorship hat for a pair of jazzy, collaborative tap shoes. When you let go of control, you're essentially saying, "Hey, I trust you enough to let you do your thing." This isn't just about being nice, it's about recognizing and celebrating the unique strengths and perspectives that others bring to the table. Imagine you're building a giant Lego castle. If you're the only one deciding where each brick goes, sure, you might end up with a perfectly symmetrical, but ultimately boring structure. But if everyone gets to add their own flair, you might end up with a vibrant, quirky fortress complete with secret passages, rooftop gardens, and maybe even a dragon or two. Plus, giving up control is liberating. It's like realizing you don't have to carry the world on your shoulders. Sometimes it's okay to let someone else take the wheel. You might be surprised to find that others are not only capable, but might actually enjoy stepping up. It's a bit like being in a three-legged race. At first, it might feel wobbly and awkward, but with practice, you find a rhythm that gets you across the finish line faster and with a lot more laughs. So, next time you're tempted to micromanage, picture yourself holding a cup of coffee, feet up, watching as your team, or family, or friends, navigate their own paths. They might stumble, they might even fall, but they'll also learn to get back up, and in the process, everyone grows. You'll cultivate a garden of respect and independence where each person blossoms in their own unique way. And who knows? You might just discover that the view from the passenger seat is pretty spectacular. 6. Neglect self-care. Imagine you're a pitcher at an endless party, refilling glasses with your special blend of wisdom, love, and energy. You're the life of the gathering, the go-to source of cheer and support. But here's the catch: every time you fill someone else's glass, yours gets a little bit emptier. Eventually, you're left shaking the last few drops out, feeling like a dry sponge at a car wash. Not a pretty sight, is it? Now, let's jazz up that imagery. Picture your well-being as a luscious, bubbling fountain of chocolate fondue. Every time you extend that fondue fork to someone else, they get to enjoy the rich, creamy goodness. But if you neglect to keep your own fondue pot full by, say, savoring your own marshmallows and strawberries, soon enough, you're left with a sad, burnt residue at the bottom of the pot. And trust me, nobody wants to dip their treats into that. So, what's the trick to being the best party pitcher or fondue fountain around? It's all about balance. Yes, being there for others is fabulous, but if you're not topping up your own reserves, you'll be running on fumes. And no one can sparkle on fumes. It's like trying to make a souffle rise without any eggs, a total flop. Here's the deal: prioritizing your own well-being isn't selfish, it's essential. It's like the safety demo on airplanes: you've got to put on your own oxygen mask before helping others. Why? Because a passed-out hero is about as useful as a chocolate teapot. By taking care of yourself first, you ensure that you're in tip-top shape to assist others. Your energy, creativity, and kindness will flow more freely when you're not running on empty. So go ahead, take that time for a bubble bath, a walk in the park, a good book, or whatever recharges your batteries. Remember, self-care is like a pit stop at a Formula One race. Without it, even the fastest cars won't finish the race. Keep your cup full, and you'll be able to pour out the best of yourself to the people who need it most. Now, who's ready for a refill? 7. Ignore her perspective. Active listening shows that you value her thoughts and feelings. Think of it as the ultimate relationship superpower, right up there with remembering anniversaries and pretending to like her favorite rom-com. When you truly listen, you're not just nodding along and occasionally tossing in a aha for good measure. No, my friend, you are diving headfirst into the conversational deep end, armed with empathy, eye contact, and the genuine desire to understand. Imagine this: she's talking about her day, her dreams, or why the barista at her favorite coffee shop is her new nemesis. As you actively listen, you're not just hearing words, you're picking up on the emotions, the subtext, the epic saga of her morning latte. You're in tune with her highs, her lows, and that eyebrow-raising bit where she had a mini existential crisis over gluten-free muffins. You're not just there in body, you're there in spirit, fully engaged, showing her that her voice matters more to you than the latest sports scores or the current stock market trends. Active listening is like giving a giant bear hug to her thoughts and feelings. It says, "Hey, I'm here, and I genuinely care about what you're saying." It's the conversational equivalent of offering your coat when she's cold or killing a spider without flinching. It's an art, a skill, and, let's face it, a secret weapon in the quest for relationship greatness. So, next time she's sharing her world with you, channel your inner Sherlock Holmes. Be curious, be attentive, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find that active listening isn't just about valuing her thoughts and feelings. It's about creating a connection so strong, it could rival even the greatest of love stories, or at least score you some major brownie points. 8. Be passive-aggressive. Direct communication is the secret weapon for resolving conflicts effectively. Imagine you're in the middle of a disagreement with a colleague about who's responsible for cleaning the breakroom microwave, a battleground for the ages, rivaled only by the thermostat wars. Instead of letting passive-aggressive post-it notes do the talking, some people don't know how to cover their spaghetti. You march up and say, "Hey, let's chat about the microwave." It looks like a Jackson Pollock painting in there, and not in a good way. Now, why is this direct approach so powerful? Well, it's like cutting through the jungle of misunderstanding with a machete of clarity. Direct communication slices through assumptions, nips passive aggression in the bud, and prevents that slow-boiling resentment from turning into a full-blown volcano. It's the difference between clearing the air and living under a perpetual storm cloud. But let's be real, direct communication can be daunting. It's a bit like ripping off a band-aid. You know it might sting, but it's the quickest path to healing. When you address issues head-on, you're not just solving the immediate problem, you're building a foundation of trust and respect. You're showing that you value the relationship enough to have the tough conversations. Plus, direct communication is way more efficient. Think of it as the express lane to conflict resolution city, bypassing the scenic route of misinterpretation and detour of hurt feelings. Instead of a long, drawn-out saga worthy of its own TV drama, you get a quick, satisfying resolution. So next time you're facing a conflict, skip the silent treatment, the cryptic emails, and the office gossip. Channel your inner diplomat and opt for a face-to-face, or Zoom-to-Zoom, dialogue. It might not be as fun as drafting a scathing yet subtle Slack message, but it's a whole lot more effective. And who knows? You might just find that your microwave nemesis is actually pretty reasonable once you get past the marinara stains. 9. Expect perfection. The sweet symphony of relationships, where imperfections are the quirky notes that make the melody of love all the more enchanting. Picture this: you're strolling through the garden of companionship, hand in hand with your significant other, when suddenly you stumble upon a patch of dandelions amidst the roses. Imperfections are those dandelions, not exactly what you expected, but oh, how they add character to the scene. Now, let's talk turkey. I mean, relationships. Accepting imperfections is like finding out your favorite superhero has a sidekick with a weird obsession for collecting rubber ducks. At first, you might raise an eyebrow, but then you realize it's just another layer to love and appreciate. Think about it: if every relationship were a meticulously polished Instagram post, where would the fun be? It's the messy, imperfect moments that add flavor to the mix. Like when you both try cooking a gourmet meal together and end up ordering pizza because the kitchen looks like a scene from a food fight. Imperfections are the spice of life, my friend. Besides, striving for perfection in a relationship is like chasing a unicorn, elusive and probably doesn't exist. Embracing imperfections is like saying, "Hey, let's dance in the rain instead of waiting for the perfect weather." Sure, you might get a little wet, but oh, the joy of twirling under those imperfectly perfect raindrops. In a world obsessed with flawless facades, embracing imperfections in relationships is the ultimate rebellion. It's saying, we're flawed, and that's perfectly okay. After all, who wants a partner who's flawless? Imagine dating a robot programmed to always agree with you. Boring, right? Imperfections add spice to the salsa of romance. So, my fellow adventurers in love, let's raise a toast to the quirks, the flaws, and the imperfections that make relationships a thrilling rollercoaster ride. After all, it's the bumps along the way that make the journey memorable. So buckle up, embrace the imperfections, and enjoy the ride. Practicing Stoicism means embracing calm, rational thinking, and emotional resilience. By avoiding these behaviors, you can build healthier, more fulfilling relationships. To recap, avoid seeking constant validation, overanalyzing emotions, being overly critical, avoiding vulnerability, trying to control everything, neglecting self-care, ignoring her perspective, being passive-aggressive, and expecting perfection. Embrace Stoicism for better relationships. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more Stoicism advice. Share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Thanks for watching.